This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. If this is your first time joining us, just know that this is a show with range, like the kind of range that would make Steph Curry jealous. We're not opposed to starting with the hard-hitting stuff, but today we're going to start here. We are just over a week away from the premiere of the long-awaited Top Gun Maverick, and you know I'm going to be there next weekend. I have been studying for this. I've been actually looking at YouTube videos of how jets take off and land on aircraft carriers. It's a very fascinating thing. The Top Gun movies are just a couple of examples of blockbuster war and military movies that have been hits over the years. I'm thinking Full Metal Jacket, A Few Good Men. Somebody said Major Payne. I don't even know if that's a real military movie, military adjacent. It's a massive genre in Hollywood. And so today we're going to take a deep dive into some military movie history on the latest pop quiz. Joining me now is the best friend of the show, Casey Mendoza, for our last segment of the season. Casey, say it ain't so.
Hi, Christian. It's good to be back, and it's okay. We're going out with a bang today. But of course, you mentioned Top Gun Maverick, which is coming out 36 years after the first one.
And Tom Cruise truly looks more or less the same. I'm not sure how he's doing it, but I don't think that's CGI, is it?
Very good skincare. He should drop that routine. Well, did you know there actually was a sequel in the works way back in the early 90s? That decision was a no-brainer. The original movie was a massive hit, but Paramount shelved it because the US Navy didn't want it to happen. And so it's been on hold for decades.
How does the US Navy tell a big studio what movies to run?
The US military has a long and complex history with Hollywood and a closer partnership than you might think. So our question today is, how does the military control its Hollywood image? This is a twisty one, Christian. This story is going to take you everywhere from Jurassic Park to the Vietnam War to dealings with the Spanish Navy.
The Spanish Navy is involved in this? Do they also have strong opinions about Top Gun?
We'll get there, but are you ready to go?
I'm strapping in my helmet, I'm putting on my backpack, I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
So let's take it from the top. The relationship between Hollywood and the US military goes back as far as the early 1900s. The 1927 film Wings featured equipment and thousands of infantrymen as extras. Things started to get more official after World War II, when the Department of Defense established its Film Liaison Office, primarily to work with film and TV producers in order to manage the military's image through entertainment. And that relationship continues today. The DoD will assist productions at a steeply discounted rate, as long as they get some say in how they'll look on screen.
Okay, so essentially when a filmmaker comes to the military and says, we are interested in using your equipment, we are interested in partnering with you, the Pentagon will say, sounds promising, but let me see your script. And they will go through the script and literally read it line by line, making notes, saying, we don't like the way the military looks on page 16. If you want our tank, you're going to have to change page 16.
We've uncovered perhaps 2,500 different movies and TV shows, and that's just the TV titles. That should give you a sense that it isn't just a war movie here, a documentary there. It's everything from sci-fi to reality TV to game shows to sporting events. Literally every aspect of entertainment culture that you can think of at some point will have been assisted and aided by the military.
Although the DoD might not widely advertise this relationship, it's not a secret. They usually emphasize the intention is to help with accuracy or be educational, and that their level of control over the story may be downplayed. Take Jurassic Park 3, for example. After reviewing the script, a couple of the requests from the Pentagon involved not using their A-10 aircrafts against flying dinosaurs, because they might make the audience pity them, and asked if they could have a nice military rescue at the end. The studio agreed, and the Marines show up. Who knows where they came from, but they're there.
You have to thank her now. She sent the Navy and the Marines.
God bless you, Ellie.
So are these requests about accuracy? Maybe not, but they sure do make the Navy look good. As the DoD's liaison wrote in one memo, there are actually 3 main criteria that earn the military support. Is it authentic? Does it inform the public? And does it help with recruitment and retention? That last one is a big one.
The U.S. does not have compulsory military service. We operate on a volunteer basis. And obviously joining the military, especially during wartime, can be a dangerous occupation. So one of the ways that they work to build recruits is essentially to use Hollywood movies and to glamorize soldiers and military service and the excitement of combat, while at the same time downplaying its psychological and physical costs.
So when we say glamorizing soldiers, I'm thinking it's a very present example, something like Top Gun.
Oh yes, it's time to talk about Top Gun. Paramount's blockbuster hit Top Gun premiered in 1986, which Time magazine called at the time a 110-minute commercial for the Navy. It was so effective as a recruitment tool that the military set up information and sign-up tables in movie theaters. Applications to the Navy's flying program skyrocketed by 500% after the film. And even the Air Force, which isn't actually related to this movie, got a big boost.
And then Top Gun comes along, which is a very different kind of film because there's virtually no combat in it, there's virtually no fighting, but almost every character in the film is from the military. And so this was a bonanza for them. In their own documents, they said it rehabilitated the military's image, which had been savaged by the Vietnam War.
The 80s and 90s were a hugely successful time for the military-Hollywood partnership. Like a few years after Top Gun, Paramount Pictures offered to run an ad for the Navy at the start of every VHS tape for Hunt for Red October and Flight of the Intruder. In an assessment from the military's go-to commercial production house, one VP noted to add a recruiting commercial onto the head of what is already a 2-hour recruiting commercial is redundant. Now, let's remember that the Pentagon's involvement in Hollywood wasn't just about glamorizing the military. It was also about minimizing the more unsavory topics, and sometimes even damage control.
Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering what sort of things get a big no from the Pentagon.
Certain topics, so-called showstoppers, will immediately get a rejection for Pentagon support, like veteran suicide, veterans with mental health problems or addictions, abuse from superiors, or sexual harassment and assault. This is part of the reason why Top Gun Maverick has actually taken decades to finally get produced. A few years after the original movie, the military was embroiled in a massive sexual assault case known as the tailhook scandal. The Pentagon stepped in to stop the sequel from happening out of fear that people would associate the franchise with the scandal. And because the cost of filmmaking can be prohibitively expensive without DoD support, scores of films have never been made. For example, after the Pentagon denied support for a big budget action movie, Countermeasures, the team even turned to the Spanish Navy to try and request an aircraft carrier, which was essential to the plot. But after hearing that the Pentagon refused them, the Spanish Navy also declined. It's important to remember what context you might be viewing something in, especially because its messaging can have massive consequences.
It's a hit TV series seen around the world, but critics say it may be encouraging U.S. troops to engage in torture.
They're very selfless, and this is a very tragic story. It avoids the politics. It gives you the facts.
Some are asking if the record-setting movie glorifies a hero or a killer.
Do you worry that the average American might see the movie as more of a documentary than entertainment? Of course they will.
The US military wants to convince people that militarized violence is usually the best answer or the best solution to world problems. That the US military is always a benevolent force in world affairs, and that its violence is always righteous. Again, that sort of helps to normalize war and leads us to decisions that have a big cost to them.
Does this mean that all these movies and shows, is this all just military propaganda in a way?
Well, yes. But to be clear, plenty of things in media are technically propaganda, since they have some sort of message they want to show to people.
So when I go see Top Gun Maverick, I can still enjoy it, right? I can still have a good time with it.
Of course, and I'll see it too. But what matters is understanding how much influence the military has over the story you're seeing and the messages it's giving you. It can be great when art and media have something to say, but when that messaging is dishonest, not from a clear source, or has massive cultural and geopolitical consequences, then it's important to view that messaging with a more critical eye.
I'll make sure that when I go see this movie, I'll bring my critical eye, my aviator shades. Casey Mendoza, entertainment correspondent for Newsy, and I'm so sad that this is the last one of the season. We hope that you'll come back and do this again with us.
I am excited to come back with more silly questions.